Hi, this is Jana Antoni from Empower Your Mind, your life beyond ordinary to extraordinary. And welcome to the Spanglish Word Networks on Zingo TV channel 250 and 251. And please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores in iOS and Android devices. And while you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. And this app is free. And Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs from 2016 forward. So today, I have a great honor and pleasure to welcome here my dear friend, an elite neuroencoding specialist, a functional nutritionist with lots of titles that even I don't understand, and she will have the opportunity to explain all of that. Marquelle Brown. Welcome, Marquelle. Thank you again for accepting my invitation. And you have worked as a nutritionist for over 8 years, and you are also a life coach for 5 years and plus. And again, I'm so honored to welcome you here. So,
thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm great to be here with you.
So today we'll be talking about how to manage negative self-talk, anxiety, and all these discouraging emotions. And we will be talking also about nutrition. But before we go to that, just let's share your story so we get to know you more in the audience about you.
All right. So my story starts off with nutrition. And I had a daughter that was very sick. I was interested in nutrition before she had a chemical toxic overload, going to a school where they were doing a lot of repairs and painting the walls, lacquering gym floors, tarring the roof of the building. And her body could not filter off all of those toxins. And so she got very sick. And her body was very reactive. She was 6 years old.
Okay.
And so that began my journey, jumping in with both feet on nutrition, just really trying to help her. I had to remove all processed foods. We prepared everything at home, worked with a doctor using supplements as well. And then I brought her home to homeschool her because she could not be in the building. She just was too reactive. And I was already really interested in nutrition. And so it made it a lot easier. And I had met a friend right before that happened, and we kind of went on this journey together. And then over the years, I decided I was a nutritional therapy practitioner through the NTA, which is a really great program. I decided I wanted to become a nutritionist so that I could do more and help more people. And so I have helped a lot of people with really hard cases and conditions to overcome those and improve their quality of life. And then I found that there was a gap between giving great nutritional education and people's mindset and all those negative thoughts. And so I've also been working with a therapist and coach with self-mastery, addiction recovery. And that really helped fill in the gap of, okay, all of these automatic negative thoughts. And then I learned about Dr. Amen and Joseph McClendon, and that came in as well and just helped to round out everything that I'd already been working on and learning to really help people go further faster, to be able to, focus on what they want. I think that's one of the most important things is, okay, well, what do we want? And as you probably know, a lot of times we just focus on all the negative, all the things that aren't going right and how I'm not, qualified. I'm not good enough. I can't do that. I think I'll just wait. And we hesitate. All of those thieves of our dreams, when we can actually focus on what we want, and with the tools that we learn through the Neurocoding, we can actually go from where we're at and where we want to be and have, that joy in life, not only for ourselves and also for helping other people. And so remembering that as we think, so we feel, As we feel, so we do. As we do, so we have. And anybody at any age can learn that little poem and learn the tools that we teach to be able to help them to overcome their challenges.
Yeah, this poem is already embodied in our bodies as Neuro encoding specialist, right?
Yes.
Also with the typical movements, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I would like to go back to the nutrition because, as you mentioned, when you started, your daughter was only 6 years old.
Yeah, she
Well,
was.
can you maybe elaborate more about that? What was the issue, and why did you why do you have to adjust the nutrition for her?
Yeah, well, her body was reacting to everything. And it was actually really scary because the environment of the school was so toxic that she was reactive and very, actually, you know, mental health, if we talk about an organ being contaminated
You
with
mean the
toxins.
environment? You mean sorry, just
Mhm.
for better understanding, you mean environment on the psychological level?
No, of the toxins, the fumes from the paint and the lacquering of the gym floor
Oh,
and the
right,
tar.
right.
And
All
she
right.
ended
Okay.
up developing a latex allergy, which she didn't have before, but all of those products are latex. And so her body was just overloaded with the toxins. And I didn't know
Oh,
that was
wow.
happening. It was after I took her out of the school because I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I did go to her school one day to teach and I lost my voice and I was only there 2 hours. And so it kind of helped me
Mm,
piece things together. And at that point, even just eating certain foods would make her react. And her reaction was anaphylaxis. So she'd break
mm.
out in full hives and she had a hard time breathing.
Oh, wow.
And it was really scary. And so, you learn a lot about latex and everything that it's in: pencil erasers, underwear, swimsuits, socks. And so we had to remove all of that and had to be very careful if we kept her on the diet. And at the time, that doctor, he did incorporate a vegan diet. There are many diets that you can heal on. That was just what his focus was. So we did a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, nuts, seeds, good healthy fats, supplementing with vitamins and minerals. And then we were working on her gut. It really interfered with her digestion and her gut a lot. And so we were working on healing and sealing the gut. And as we did that, that helped her brain health, which as a 6-year-old child, I will say that was eye opening for me to see how a chemical imbalance in her body, because she had a toxic exposure, and it created, or I don't know if it contributed to creating this imbalance. It really affected her mental health. And as a
Mm.
6-year-old, 6-year-olds are usually happy and carefree and want to do whatever. And to watch that in a child, just lay on the couch, not want to get up and play, and just say how horrible she felt. And she would have these
Terrifying.
rages that it made me go, whoa, okay, this is a real thing. And so working with the nutrition, we worked on anti-inflammatory diet to decrease the inflammation, help the detoxification pathways to carry all those toxins out of our system while we were allowing it to heal and repair. And it takes time. So I
Yeah,
got
of
to
course.
see the shift in the physical body heal and repair, and as well as her mental health improved. And as a
Yeah.
child, you wouldn't think you'd have to worry about that, but she was so overloaded. Her body just was overreactive to everything.
What an interesting story. I have now like 1,000 questions in
Okay.
every direction. Yes. Like I really have literally 1,000 questions. I'm very interesting to know if your daughter was the only child who experienced this trouble in that school, or are they? I could imagine there had to be other children and maybe even teachers. Did you share with them that was a toxin? What did they do with the school? Where did you put your daughter? How your daughter adjusted to the nutrition? What did you learn? I have so many questions.
Yeah, when something happens like that, and it was gradual, and it started happening before Christmas, and then with the Christmas break, she was okay with her behavior, because it first manifested in her behavior and just
Right,
meltdowns and anger and rage. And I was like, wow.
right.
And so I thought, what are they doing to these children at this school?
Okay.
And then we
Yeah.
brought her home for Christmas, and she was fine. And I sent her back that first week, and she just couldn't handle it. So with the teachers were saying there were a lot of behavioral challenges that year. And I think because it's such a subtlety, like you can't see the toxic fumes in the school,
Mm.
that they didn't know and they didn't correlate. And I was already asking questions. Why is my child behaving like this? Like, children just don't do this. Are they doing something?
Just by curiosity, it was in the painting or it was in the build structure or what was
Oh, I
what
left
was
out that piece. The reason they were doing all of these repairs is because a tornado had hit the building at the end of
right?
the previous school year, and they were working all summer to rebuild and redo everything so the kids could start school in August. They delayed school 2 or 3 weeks, I can't remember. And so because
Mm.
of that, they weren't finished, and they were still using all of these toxic chemicals, which people are like, well, it's paint, it's no big deal. It's lacquering the
Yeah,
gym floor, no
right.
big
They
deal.
didn't
The
check
top.
it.
And the children are in there, and for whatever reason, she could not slough off all of the toxins from those fumes. And you would walk in there and you could totally smell it. And like I said, I went there
Wow.
one day for 2 hours and totally lost my voice. And I was
Yeah.
like, why? And so after all of this, I kind of put the pieces together. The teacher did say, there have been a lot of behavioral issues. We've had to move some children out. And I just think that part of it was the toxic overload, and it affects the brain.
Yes, very much. And then we can slip right now to the Dr. Amen teaching. All the toxins, not only toxins, but we will be talking today about nutrition and how nutrition affects our behavior and our thinking, even thinking patterns, our mood, our emotions. It's all affected by the food we eat, but also really by toxin and the exposure to toxin. As you said, this is very important what you just said, and I'm very, very glad that we touched that really watch the colors you use in the rooms where you are living, or especially at schools.
Yes.
I'm a little bit shocked, I have to admit, that they didn't check colors when they were painting a school, you know.
And it
So,
wasn't just color,
this
it was
definitely affects.
the fumes from the paint.
Yeah, yeah, and this definitely affects your brain function, and not only in the mood that they are more reactive or more itchy, but really it can destroy the neurons, right? The cells in your brain. It's very, very bad. So I'm really happy that you brought that up. And
Yeah.
now when we go to the nicer parts, to the recovery,
Yeah.
uh, I can imagine that that could be severe adjustment to the nutrition by a child in such young age. It's just a baby. 6 years is still a baby.
Yeah.
So it must have been some challenge,
It
right?
was. It was a real big challenge. I also had a baby that was about 6 months at that time. So I had three children, 6, 4, and then a 6-month-old, and,
Yeah,
very sick child. And, it took a lot of work.
yeah,
And I am thankful that I was already learning about nutrition and trying to improve things with our diet. And I had met a friend who also had a very sick child and got me in with this doctor right away. And she was a good friend, so that we could cry on each other's shoulder and support each other when it got hard.
yeah.
And focusing
Support is
on it.
very important, right?
Yeah, that support. Actually, it was really important, because I really felt alone. And you wonder why. And at that point, you can't really dwell on the why. You have to just be right in there helping and doing what
Yeah.
you need. So
What I would like to hear as well, how you, because I can imagine that children in this age, they are quite picky about the food they want to eat and they don't want to eat, right? Like vegetables, like broccoli, and this is not their favorite, I would say.
right.
So what did you do? What strategies did you find out how to bring the healthy food that will help heal your daughter's brain, that she could also like enjoy or like the food?
hmm So one of the things that I like to do with kids is let them play with their food. And so broccoli were trees, and we would make kind of a little story about the trees, and my kids all look at me. They still look at me. Or if we had romaine leaf, a lettuce leaf, a lot of times we'd put different things in that. And I'd be like, okay, here's our boat. Or I'd make it a feather before we put the filling in. Um, and so, or they could make, faces on their plate if they had berries and nuts and seeds, and just really bringing the creativity in there,
Yeah.
focusing on the colors. And same thing with any children. If you can get a variety of color, that makes it more exciting. You can do uh, ants on a log, which is celery stick with some sort of a nut butter, and you could put raisins on or craisins or even some nuts. You could take apple slices and make butterflies, or you can make smiley faces. And so really making food fun and
Yeah,
making it
making it fun.
light. And
Like make it a game. I
yeah,
can also imagine it takes some work to do that, right? Making faces out of the food. What I would suggest is like, can you invite even this small child to do it with you? Maybe they will have more pleasure to eat them when they will participate on the preparation.
yes. Yes, the preparation part is also very important. Um, and even going to the grocery store, if you can take them and have them pick out some of their fruits and vegetables that they want.
Mm.
And maybe as they get older, think about what recipes they might want to look up, and then we can try that. And keeping a variety of foods in, thinking about the Mediterranean diet, which is fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, lean meats, fish, your good oils, healthy oils. There's a wide variety of foods that you can choose. And as you have the wider variety, it helps with the microbiome, with your gut, and it helps to bring that diversity, which helps your immune system. It also helps your brain health because there's a gut brain connection. There's
Yes.
gut and psychology syndrome. And so if there's a lot of brain health issues, look at the gut and see, okay, how do we need to help heal and seal that gut?
Yes. I feel suddenly so lucky that I am living in the Mediterranean area.
Yes, I know. That's wonderful. Doesn't it?
Now, let's talk more about this connection between gut and the brain.
Okay.
And from my own experience, because I suffered very severe issues with my digestion after my cancer treatment, when I did um, some radiation and chemio. And I had really, like, for at least a decade, I had troubles with digestive system. And as soon as I adapted a little, like, I don't eat gluten now, and so everything is gluten free. And when I eliminated completely the dairy products, it's like some kind of miracle happens. It's like it went all by itself in the right place. And
Good.
I never was fan of medication, but I know that in our world, today's world, every problem we have, we are, or the human race, is used to just take pills, right, for everything.
Right.
And I don't think this is a good idea, at least at the beginning. So what would you say people, they may have gut problems, or maybe even a rash, or and after that we go to the psychological one, because this one is interesting as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Not every time. A lot of the time, I like to start with what's going on with the gut. How is your digestion? Because if you aren't breaking down and utilizing your foods, it's going to contribute to inflammation. And if it goes on for a long period of time, it can lead to autoimmune issues. And sometimes the start of an autoimmune might be a rash. It might be headaches. It might be just joint pain, or really fatigued. And so looking at digestion is key. How are you breaking down and utilizing the nutrients that you're eating? So chewing your food, chewing it really, really well, that is a great way to start your digestive process. You've got saliva that helps to break down the carbohydrates. And then when you swallow that, then the stomach doesn't have to work so hard, because really there aren't teeth in your stomach. And then also, making sure that we've got enough hydrochloric acid in the stomach to help break down those proteins. And then everything's a chain reaction. If it's not acidic enough in the stomach, it'll stay there longer, and it's like you feel like your stomach's churning, because it is. And then the proteins putrefy and the fats go rancid and the carbs, they ferment. And that's where we get a lot of the digestion upset. So that digestion is really important for that chemical reaction to then go on, and have the gallbladder release cholecystokinin, the pancreas release the secretin, to utilize your fats and more of your sugars and carbohydrates, and then assimilate the rest of the nutrients as it goes through those little villi in the intestine. So
and I heard,
go ahead.
Sorry, I heard that some doctors, they speak about the guts as a second brain, right? So
Yes.
everything actually what happens on the physical level, if you have some physical issues, it's start looking to your gut, what's start looking actually what you are eating, and adjusting your food, and you will see pretty much and pretty soon an improvement. Now, can you please share with us, because it's very interesting. I shared just last week with a friend that I coached about the nutrition and the healthy fat and high glycemic carbohydrate and fiber, etc. And she was looking at me and like, yeah, that's very nice, but I don't actually know what kind of food are high glycemic carbohydrate and fiber, and can you just share some examples for people? They don't really know much about this stuff. They may have heard about this already, that's for sure, but they can't connect really the nutrition, the food with this word.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So the high glycemic diet, processed foods are going to be high glycemic. Potato chips, donuts, candy bars, and they just spike that blood sugar. And then what happens, as we've probably all felt this at some point, we spike that blood sugar, and then if we don't have any protein or anything else to go with it that has fiber to slow down the rate those carbohydrates burn, then we will crash. And then you've got to reach for another sweet, and then a spike it and crash. So we have these highs and lows, and it can really wear out your pancreas and your adrenals and your liver.
It's like a roller coaster, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that we all should avoid. And that's from the obesity comes from, right?
Yes,
from
and
this
diabetes.
high food, carbohydrate.
Yes. And it also leads to, cardiac issues and high cholesterol when we have the high sugars. Usually if we're thinking about high cholesterol, we want to look at the sugars in the diet. So a high glycemic. Now, one recommendation that I give to my clients is that when you have a carbohydrate, even if it's a fruit or a vegetable, to have either a protein or a fat, because those are going to help slow down the rate that the sugars metabolize, so we avoid the spikes and the crashes. We want to keep our blood sugar balanced. And so our fruits and vegetables and nuts and our whole grains are going to be high in fiber.
Hmm.
And that fiber is really important for gut health. It's kind of like the broom, and it moves things along, and it absorbs, toxins, and it also helps with satiety, helping us to feel full. And so those types of foods are fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains are going to be a higher fiber content.
Yeah.
And then having a good fat or a good protein to go along with that is
Yeah.
helpful for maintaining blood
I
sugar.
want I want just to add, you are talking about the sugar and hyperglycemic, and it's not only like potato chips, it's not only donuts and processed food, but I remember learning also like a white rice or white bread had the same effect on your blood sugar, that it increases very quickly and it lowers also very quickly. So this is also a roller coaster. So be aware of these hidden sugars, in or when you buy a spaghetti like pasta, they have lots of sugar in it actually.
Yes,
So
they do.
that Dr. Amen says, read the labels and read really the amount of sugar that is in it, and everything that's higher than 5 grams on the package is just too much,
Yes, I
right?
would agree. And my doctor that I worked with my daughter, I grew up in Idaho and we ate a lot of potatoes, and he said, you might as well eat a piece of cake. I was like, why? And he said, because the white potatoes are very high glycemic. So if you get a red potato or one of the colored potatoes, those are actually going to be better. You can
Yeah,
still eat them. It's just that you don't want to eat them all the time,
all the
every day.
time,
Yeah.
right?
So it would be more, you know, once in a while, or maybe once or
Yeah,
twice a week. So, and
yes.
the red potatoes are going to be a little bit lower glycemic than just the white potatoes.
Right, right. Yes, that's very important to say. And the second thing I wanted to say, you were speaking about fat. And we have learned, or in saying that in general knowledge, people think that eating fat is bad for the cholesterol level and is bad for the health. But what we have learned with Dr. Daniel Amen is that our brain actually needs fat,
Yes.
but a healthy fat.
Yeah,
Now let's talk about that.
absolutely. And the brain is, I think, like 20 to 30% fats.
Yes.
It takes like 20 to 30% of our energy. So remember, fats are going to be a higher calorie. They're going to give you more energy. It's
Yeah.
also really important for your heart health. And
Mm,
good healthy fats will actually help to lower the cholesterol and triglycerides, because they're going to help
yes.
balance out the blood sugar. And it's really the sugars that are the culprit. So good healthy fats um, are like olive oil, avocado oil.
I,
If you like
I love
coconut oil,
avocado.
your nuts and seeds, our meats actually have some fats in them. And so,
Salmon, right?
yes, salmon does. So they've got the omega 3s, which are great for the brain, for your skin, for your hair and your nails, for your energy. Uh,
Yeah.
but you also have some fats in your other meats as well. And depending on what meat you have, like beef is going to have a higher content of fat. Turkey has a higher content of fat than chicken. Um, So those are still good to eat. And then flaxseed oil is really great. You just don't want to cook with it. It would be something you would add to veggies after, or salad. I like to put it in smoothies, and that's another omega 3.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Because the brain is the most hungry organ in our body, right?
right,
And it can't stuck the energy. It can't stuck the glucids, right? So that's why our brain needs the fat to work properly. And if it does not have the fat, it can't work properly. And
right,
it's not, then the effect is not only on the physical body, But, and this is a smooth transition to to your other area of your activities, your coaching. It has a very high effect on our mental health as well.
Yes.
Mood, emotions, even mental, um, I wouldn't say illness, I wouldn't say mental issues.
Yes. And I want to share a little insight. If you are craving sugar, ask yourself, okay, maybe I need some fat. Do I need some good fats in my diet? And so then you could actually reach for a food that has some fats, because if our brain doesn't have the fat it needs, it's going to crave sugar, and it'll turn that sugar into fat for what the brain needs. So,
That's amazing. That's
yeah,
amazing because I crave a lot sugar or other cravings. I crave also a lot of salty food. So what's happening within my brain? Again,
with the,
just that's
with
good
the
because
salt.
I think lots of people crave sugar because we grow up on sugar, which is really bad. I don't understand why we still do that, but we grow on sugar,
Mhm.
and this is really madness. So I think lots of people have issue with that.
Yes, I would agree. And again, looking at the diet and the snacks, the meals and the snacks, did I have enough good, healthy fats? So you can ask, am I really hungry? And if I am, do I need some fats? I like to bring up nut butters, almond butter. If people can do peanut butter, sun butters, different things like that, cashew butter is a great way to get a spoonful of that to get some good fats, and then see how you are. Now, it also could be emotions. And this is where the neuro encoding comes in, because we can really tap into, especially if we have the munchies and we want, those sweets. So a lot of times that could be that we're feeling really sad, or we're feeling frustrated or angry, and we're trying to numb out all of those emotions with food, and or push it down with food, right? And it doesn't help. Sadly, I've even tried that in my life, and those emotions do not go away. So how can we move through the emotions? So we've got to notice what they are, and I like to name them. I also think it's important to honor them and be like, okay, yep, thank you, this is information. And then we can use a really cool technique. We can stop, right? And we can practice this aside of when we are flooded with emotions, and we can smile, and we can look up and remember how great we are, and what do we want. So if we're feeling really frustrated and stressed, okay, well, what are we going to flip that to? What do we want instead? Okay, I want to feel peace and calm and be able to think clearly. Okay, so that's when we're going to smile and look up, and then we're going to think of something to do. So if we're working on a project, what's one thing we can do to get started? Or we could reach out to a friend. We could go for a walk to help shift from the negative mood to the positive, because when we have the negative and we're in that spin, we got to fill that hole with something that's good and positive and going to help us to move forward again. Otherwise, we get stuck, and
Yeah.
nobody likes feeling like that. And so, remembering who we are and our greatness and all of our gifts and talents, and practicing that each day, a few times a day, even. And if you can do it looking in the mirror, just practicing smiling. You can look up and be like, I'm awesome. I'm so
A
great.
mirror exercise.
And
Yeah.
so that when we have those negative emotions or negative thoughts that we're flooded with, we can stop and shift into that better behavior, right? And
Yes.
for kids, I bought me an anteater, because Dr. Amen says, kill the ants, the automatic negative thoughts. So I'm like, with my kids, we're going to suck those negative thoughts out with my little anteater. This is antsy. And so with
Yeah.
kids, again, you can bring in something fun. And my kids,
And
sometimes they'll come over, okay, mom, it's time to get rid of the ants. And they'll do that. So it's kind of fun.
we'll be talking about the ants just in a second.
Okay.
Well, this is this very interesting method, and I like it a lot. So just so the audience will know what we are talking about, the ants.
Okay.
But before you go, that I have just one thing I was thinking about the mood and the nutrition, and I have a question on you. So
Yeah.
the first thing I was thinking about, and again, it's in my experiences, when I eat lots of, or where I ate in my past, gluten like bread and pasta and pizza, I felt really down. I felt even really sad and depressed. It's not only about the energy. I lost energy. I didn't have energy to move either,
Right.
but it had effect on my mood, on my emotions. I felt pretty much down. And
Yeah.
as soon as I removed it from my diet, suddenly I have not only the energy, but this negative thoughts, this the self beating. You know, it's not. Sometimes it comes. Yes, it's not that 100% is away. No, but it's not so often as it used to be. So it's really linked to my negative thoughts are really linked to the food I eat.
Yeah. And that's really great that you could see the correlation and the connection. For many people, gluten does create a lot of symptoms. It is it's very inflammatory, creates inflammation. A lot of times, if you're not eating whole grains like whole grain gluten bread, you're eating the white bread, which is still gluten. It's if you put water on it, you can already see that it makes like glue. It makes like a paste. And then going back to with the dairy as well, there are many people that have dairy sensitivities, and it's a molecular mimicry. So those proteins with the gluten, if a lot of times the molecular mimicry, it'll mimic this, and so there'll be a sensitivity to that as
Yeah.
well. So that is what those two are two of the first things that we do on an elimination diet
Yeah.
is we remove the gluten and the dairy. Some people can bring the dairy back in and they're fine with that, and some people can't. And many people still feel way better not being on gluten. So, not being able to think clearly, achy
Yes.
joints, fatigue. A lot of people will be
Right,
nauseous.
the brain fog, right, the brain fog and the fatigue, right? It's everything. It's about food. It's just incredible. I was just doing this with my clients like 2 weeks ago, and when we met a week after our session, he told me it completely shifted. He didn't like after a week, he already saw the results,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yes.
completely shifted.
And I do encourage people, if they are open, to try eliminating gluten for 3 weeks. And usually within 1 week to 10 days, people are like, wow, I feel so much better only removing that one thing.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
impressive. And
that's
so,
good. Yeah.
you can try it for 3 weeks and then you can introduce it back and see if you notice a difference. And a lot of people are like, okay, I notice with myself that if I have a lot going, I'm not, I don't want to eat the gluten because then I'm not as sharp. I like to be sharp, quick, have that
Right.
energy. So I will really monitor myself and be like, I don't want that because I actually really don't
Yeah,
feel very good eating it.
yeah, yeah. And every inflammation is very bad to your brain. Every inflammation will kill the some area in your brain and will cause then inactivity or lower activity, lower blood flow to your brain. So every inflammation is bad. And just an insight notice, what I have noticed as a European person, that the bread in all over the food in America has like doubled or tripled so much sugar than here in Europe.
Yes.
It's like crazy, you know. Even well, I never was a fan of Coca-Cola
Right.
and never liked the taste, but that's my I'm like one in the million, you know, that doesn't like Coca-Cola.
I don't like it either.
But either way, when you taste Coca-Cola here in Europe, and you have a different Coca-Cola in the US. It's like double so sugar. Like no European person can drink really Coca-Cola in US because it's too much sugar. It's too
Wow.
much. And just like maybe something to bring to awareness to US people they don't really realize. It's really double or sometimes triple, like bread, especially bread and beverage
Yeah,
has a double amount of sugar than in Europe, you know.
I believe it. And one way to reduce your calories and your sugars is to cut out the soda pops, the juices, because you can add up a lot of calories there. And if people are wanting to lose weight, even just cutting that out will help with weight loss right away. And they do put sugar in everything. I do read all the labels because can of beans, who needs to put sugar in the can of beans? And some beans, they
And
are,
they do?
yeah. And so I look
Oh,
for beans, salt, and water.
oh wow.
Yeah, so you
I
have to
didn't know
really,
that.
I know it. It's actually quite sad. I'm like, oh, okay, so let's try another one. So I
Yes.
look at the different brands. There's some brands that I won't buy. Same thing for some brands of canned beans. They have preservatives in them, like EDTA,
Yes. It's
BHA,
very bad.
and so I won't buy those either because those are neurotoxins for the brain.
Yeah.
And so reading the labels, going for the shorter
And
label.
don't drink your calories, as Dr.
Yes.
Amen said,
Yeah.
right? Just when you start only with that, don't drink your calories, don't eat a
Water.
gluten, and then you might have a really big changes in shifts in your lives.
Mhm.
And I want to just say, and this is my opinion, that our society is designed to make people sick on purpose.
Mm.
That's why are they adding so bad stuff into each food, into each can and packages and everything that's slightly processed, because they need to work this insurance systems in hospitals and all this stuff. Just they are making people sick on purpose. But that's only my footnote to that. What
And
I wanted to ask you. So
mhm.
yes.
I was going to say, and I don't know if they are. I think a lot of it is efficiency, and they're trying to have foods last longer and speed up the process. So that's probably more their incentive. Um, and knowing that there are foods that at least I like, and most people like certain foods, I call fun foods, which are junk foods because they're processed foods. I've also find that people do much better if they allow some of those in. And I encourage people to schedule or think about their week when they might go to a party or a gathering where they're going to have some of those and think about, okay, what am I going to choose? And have it be more of a special occasion instead of some people, especially with children, they're having those fun foods for every meal and every snack. And over time, that builds up and it really creates a burden on the body. It creates inflammation, not only for all of the organs and the systems, also for the brain. And so, if we can have those be more for a special occasion versus all day, every day, that's going to make a huge difference in people's health as
Yeah.
well.
And you speak now about special occasions. And I'm thinking again about Dr. Daniel Ayman when said, don't make every day, because there are so many special occasions like Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and anniversary and other anniversary and other
Birthday.
anniversary, right? So you may create special occasions like every week or
Right.
every month. And it's not about that either, right?
So, another perspective that I like to bring in is that if we were to have 5 meals a day, well, 5 meals and snacks, that's like a minimum. Kids often need more than that because they metabolize so quick and they don't eat very much. And we have 7 days a week. That's 35 times a week minimum that we're eating. So if we had some of these social gatherings and these fun foods, even 5 times throughout the week out of 35, that's still probably going to be okay. It's just that when it's like 30 times out of the 35 times you eat in a week, that's where it starts adding up and creating the burden on the body. So looking at the big picture of the whole week, I usually have people think about how many times a week would you like to have some of these fun foods? You want it 3 times a week, 5, and then start where they're at. And then I also remind them that when you don't have them all the time, when you're at one of those occasions, you might not even want it. Like it's there,
Right.
and then you know that you can make the choice. I don't really want that. I did decide I could have these things if I want, and a lot of times I'll choose to not eat them. So
Yeah,
again,
right. That's the funny thing, because that's something that happened to me like, I don't know, 4 weeks ago. I loved, because I'm living like to the French border, So the French croissant with lots of butter. It was like every Sunday morning, for the breakfast, every single Sunday. I love that. I love that. And it's been about a year. I removed all the gluten out of my diet.
Mhm.
And like 3-4 weeks ago, I was in the city, and I looked at a croissant. Nice, really, because here they can make it so tasty, so tasteful.
Believe it.
And I was like, oh, I will have so pleasure. Like, I didn't eat them for a year, I buy it for me and enjoy it. And I have to say that it was good. It wasn't as much pleasure as I used to have it. But afterwards, I like digest that for 3 days. It
Wow.
was so heavy for my digestive system, for my stomach and my guts, that I suffered. I really
No.
suffered for 3 days. And every time when I have like okay, let's do that. And I remember this time, as soon as your body get used to healthy food, get used to what your body likes and what does not your body does good, it just reject it, and it gives you a clear signal that it does not like it,
Yeah.
and then you have this struggle. So you don't need it, because you won't be struggling, and you won't be feeling bad. So that's the beauty. As soon as you are getting used to the healthy diet,
Mhm.
your body will recognize it, right? And after that, like after months, when you want to buy it, then you try it, you will experience how bad you feel. You say, okay,
Yeah.
not anymore, right?
And that's the wonderful part, Um, it makes you think twice about eating that again. Was it really worth it? I don't know.
Yes.
I don't think so. Usually when I eat something, I'm like, ooh, I did not feel good. I'm not going to eat that again. And usually I
Yes.
won't
Was
because,
it really worth it? Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
And I
Exactly.
find
And then
kids,
you buy the stuff with more awareness, right? You
yeah,
don't go to the store and take one thing from off the shelf and put it automatically to your, I guess you just take the stuff, and you think about it. Okay, is it really worth it to eat it? Because I know how will it feel in my body, is it really worth it? So that's the beautiful thing. It brings like
awareness.
awareness, and yeah, to another level. You won't go these things. You won't purchase your food automatically, like on the automatic mode. You will really think about it, and that's the beauty. You'll
Yeah,
live, yeah,
I
right,
love that. Yes. And that's what we're wanting is to gain awareness. What makes us feel good? What doesn't? I even find with
right,
children, once they start getting good foods and we create this awareness, after they eat maybe something and they're feeling bad, well, do you think it could have been the food? Maybe
yes,
not. And this is, helping them to see how they feel good when they're eating nutritious, nutrient-dense foods, and how they might not feel quite as good if they're eating the processed, packaged, preservative foods.
Yes. And I'm very sorry we didn't have time to speak more about that. That actually how you feed your children will affect their mood and concentration and the willingness or the argumentative part. It will all affect by the food. So I'm sad
So,
that we didn't touch this
well,
one. So maybe
all the things you talked about, having a protein or a fat with your carbohydrate, limiting the sweets, eating nutrient-dense foods, which we find in the Mediterranean diet, chewing our foods, getting a big variety, which will help the microbiome, which will help our brain. All of those things are just as important for children as they are for teenagers and adults. And so, choosing some colorful fruits and vegetables, and those are some great ways to help implement. So,
yeah, I'm really excited we didn't touch this more. Maybe I should I will invite you once more so we can touch this one the next time, because I wanted to ask you also about something you said when we were talking about the negative thoughts.
mm-hmm.
You said just remembering who we are, right, before we go to the negative thoughts. And that's something interesting because in my experience, in my past, when I was remembering, or when I would ask me this question, who am I wouldn't find the answer. And it would even put me deeper in my negative thoughts, so that might happen. So let's talk, we have some more minutes, some more time, a little more time.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. Knowing who we are is so important. And there's so many negative influences, tearing us down and telling us all the horrible things about us, right? And
And this
sometimes,
comparison, right, with all the social media and pressure, especially for kids and teenagers, right? There's
right.
so much pressure from social media. They compare themselves. So this is really, they don't know, or I didn't know who
And
I was, really.
yeah. And that's definitely one thing that is part of that personal growth and development that I think we're always fine tuning through our life. And one thing that I've been implementing with my own children is helping them to notice their good characteristics, their talents, and how they handled something well, and wow, that's really great, that's one of your strengths. And then also knowing that we all have weaknesses, we're all learning and growing, and maybe we made a mistake and that didn't go so great. Okay, so what are we learning from that? What can we do to learn from that and keep moving forward? And if for those that are starting out and wanting to strengthen and develop a belief of who they are and instill that in them, we can ask our friends, or we can think, okay, if my friend were to say good things about me, what would they say? And if you can't think of that, ask the friend, what do you like about me? What do you think are my strengths? So we can start with that. So if somebody says you're funny, you're lovable, you're kind, then you can start with that and do that mirror exercise, looking in the mirror. I'm funny, I'm lovable, I'm kind, I'm a hard worker, I'm trying, I'm doing my best. And yes, I make mistakes and I'm learning and growing. And then we celebrate, yes. And we repeat that a few times. And I did this at one point in time just with loving myself, because I had been through some other traumatic things and I didn't love myself. And so I would practice looking in the mirror, saying my name, I'm Marquelle, and I love myself. And I'm lovable. And, I believe in God. And I'd say, God loves me. And man, the first time I did it, I couldn't even say it. I was bawling because I really didn't love myself. And
I couldn't even say it. I
right.
thought I'm ridiculed. Like it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. What am I doing?
Right. And then knowing you, Jana, and where we're at now, like I would never have even thought that you would have even had those thoughts. And I look back and I think, those, I can't believe that I couldn't even love myself. And so I did set a goal every day. And when I would walk by, I would look in the mirror and I love you, Marquelle. You're lovable. All of that to help reinstill that belief and that truth in myself. And it really helped to shift me from this negative into more positive, going further, faster state.
Yeah, and that's a very beautiful thing you just said at the end. So love each other, and if you still have difficulties, take a coach.
Yes.
No matter age, if you are 6 years old or your kids are 6 years old, 8, 13, 20, if you are 30, 40, 50, and you have trouble or struggle to do that, just take a coach. So the last question I will ask you, where can people find you if they felt inspired by you today and would like to reach out?
Yeah. Thank you, Jana. And I appreciate you having me on your show. And I have a website. It's my name, marquellebrown.com. And that's MarquelleBrown.com. And I would love to hear from you. And I wish you all the best and enjoy your food and remember who you are and watch for those negative thoughts and flip them to
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah, what do you eat, you become, right? It's literally that.
You are
So
what you
thank
eat.
you again, Marquelle, for your time and that you accepted my invitation. And I think I will ask you again so we can finish the talk about the children.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
So this show can be also heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out http://spanglishwords.ca. And for all the news and programming, Spanglish Word, watch it, read it, hear it, download it, and live it. Thank you very much.